Hey everyone, Gen X Fusion here, doing a first of a video series called Monster Comparisons. And the footage that you see right here is my son, who is playing Monster Hunter Rise, the Sunbreak. And our first comparison is the Magala family. So we're starting off with Gore Magala right over here. And so the main thing that I'm doing is just doing observation with the moves that it has. Look at that tail sweep. Wow. And just be able to observe the movements and the tendencies that the Magala family does have, starting with Gore Magala, who is considered the, I guess you could say the youth or the adolescent form of the Magalas. And so we're going to go ahead and just make some comparisons and just see what the movement tendencies are with Gore Magala, and then compare it to other members of its family. So here we go. So one of the things Gore Magala does do is does a charge. It does this one little blast, that little frenzy purple blast, which is a very short range attack. And it does do like charging, where it runs you over and tries to trample you. That's one of its move sets. Let's see what else. There's another move set that I'm waiting for to occur. So we're gonna go ahead and there it is. There's another move set right there, which is kind of like a semi-charge forward, where it sweeps you with both of its front legs. There you go. There's another move set right there. His range attack, which is a little bit more longer. It's like a 3-shot attack. And then the main, I guess you could say the short range big blast attack that occurs. That's geared towards taking care of enemies that are directly in front of it. The 3-prong attack that just came out not that long ago, where it was firing 3 small blasts, is to take care of individuals, I think, that are kind of like trying to keep a distance from it. Okay, here we go. Well, this one here, my son is riding on the Barroth, so we'll see what happens there. The interesting thing about Gore Magala is that it is, in my opinion, it's one of the most, it's a very beautiful monster in terms of the color scheme, the purple frenzy that it has. And the interesting part is that it has no eyes. You know, so how in the world does this thing see? I don't know. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's in its rage mode. When it goes into a rage, its form alters a little bit. You'll notice the 2 horns that stick out from its head, and its moveset is altered slightly. There goes that big blast. It's like a range blast that once it lands, it spreads out and hits an area, has kind of like an area of effect. The short range is a little bit stronger too, the short range blast. Yeah, so that's pretty intense what this monster can do. There goes that front blast again. See, it's enough to knock somebody and kill someone and cause them to cart. You know, Gore Magala is not something that you can just easily trifle with and underestimate. It is a very intense monster. So it's once again, looks like it does these little short range big blasts. Its biggest weapon is the Frenzy Virus. So when it hits you with the Frenzy Virus, you end up having a small meter up in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, and basically you're infected with the Frenzy. So what does the Frenzy do to you? Oh, wait, there we go. There's that big blast right there. It's like a range, like a long-range blast that occurs. That's part of its defense in its rage mode. But what the Frenzy does when you're infected is that it makes you more susceptible to taking physical damage. So you take a percentage more damage than you would if you weren't infected by it. And the only way that you can cure it, because you can't cure it using an antidote or anything like that. You'll notice right there that my son's character is infected with the Frenzy right now, and there's the meter on the upper left-hand corner. So once that meter gets full, if you haven't had yourself cured of the virus, you will be infected in such a way where you will take massive amounts of extra damage from it. There goes that physical damage right there. where it uses its front leg. Oh, here's the blast. Oof. But the good news about that is if you get infected with the frenzy virus, even though you're infected, it doesn't mess you up any more than you already are. So that's the good news. But what happens is that if the gauge fills up, it'll turn red. It'll have a red icon on there, and basically what it means is that you're infected with more damage and you're more susceptible to having a critical hit landed on you and different things like that. You know, and the way to cure yourself, which is what my son just did there, was you have to become aggressive in your attacks in order to cure yourself of the virus. Now the good news is that once the virus is cured, you have a blue icon up there, and what that does is that it increases your affinity, and I believe it increases your affinity by 40%. So you are then able to land a critical attack, and your chances are much higher of landing a critical attack as a result. So it's a good thing that once you get infected with the frenzy virus by a Gore Magala or any of the Magala family, is to make sure you get aggressive so that you can get yourself cured. You'll notice there for a moment it was flying. This is another defensive thing that it has, is that where it flies in the air and then it'll shoot a range attack at you. Okay, so he's going over there to continue his search to get to it and everything. Gore Magala appears in various maps on here. It makes its first appearance on Sunbreak here in the Citadel ruins, or in the Citadel area. But it's also been known to show up in the Shrine ruins, and there is also an event in which you can hunt it in an arena quest as well. So let's see what happens. Now that this Gore Magala has taken a substantial amount of damage. So we're going to see, you see that tail swipe it has also. So it has all types of different means of counterattacking you depending on where your position is in conjunction to where it is. So if you're off to the side trying to flank it, it will try to tail sweep you. There you go. He's exhausted. That's a time to be able to take him down, knock him down, and then be able to get some really good damage. Yeah, that's good so far. Now, he'll probably end up going in a rage again pretty soon. Maybe. You notice there that he tried to fire his range attack, his frenzy blast. When the monsters are exhausted like that, they oftentimes fail to launch their range attack because they're too weak or tired. You know, that is the time where you can really take advantage of them, especially when they're getting ready to try to do a range attack and it fails. Well, so far so good. Yeah, this Gore Magala. You'll notice that this Gore Magala not only has the front limbs, the two front limbs, but even on his wings he has 2 extra claws if you look up there, and he will use those claws to attack you. I've seen it happen mostly when he's in his enraged mode, but yeah, so that's something that you also have to watch out for once he goes into his rage mode, is that those 4 claws, he'll have 4 claws to be able to come after you with. Well, so far so good here. Nice. There he goes again. He's firing his range attack. He fires it in 3 different directions. Generally, it's directly in front, then off to either the left, and then off again to the right. So they're doing a good job of keeping it. Look, it hasn't gone into its rage mode. It's only done it once. So that's a good sign. Yeah, if you can keep it out of its rage mode, you're in pretty good shape. There it goes again. It's firing its little range attack for the frenzy virus. Those little range attacks are not that difficult to dodge, although a few seconds of there, one of the random hunters got hit by it. Oh, okay, now he's raging. And you notice that his look has changed. You know, he's more purple. And we'll see what happens with his tendencies. Usually his tendencies can become more aggressive. You'll notice his arm swipes are much wider. He now flies and attacks you in flight and dive bombs you. And he'll attempt to trample you. So there are some different things that he'll do. Yeah, Gore Magala is a wonderful monster to hunt. One of my favorites, actually. Very good. There it goes. Yeah, see it come down. You'll notice its claws. Those claws are on its wings. So you'll notice it's using all four of its claws in the front. Uh-oh, here he comes. Wow. Well, it's a good job there that my son dodged him the way he did. You notice he still doesn't have eyes. But he's got those horns. Oftentimes, I don't know how he doesn't see. I guess I'd have to figure out how he has his sight in Monster Hunter lore. But I wouldn't doubt it if he was similar to maybe a bat, where he has like radar senses and everything. He does resemble, if you take a look at his, you know, just his wings, it does resemble that of a bat. So it's very well possible that he has radar sense. Okay, they almost got him slayed. This is good. So this is what Gore Magala does. This is kind of like what the move set is. Up there goes that one slam using its winged claws. And there they go. They slayed it. So onward, we're going to go ahead and we're going to check out the Shagaru Magala. This is the adult version of the Gore Magala. So we're going to check that out next. Okay, so here we go. This is the next member of the Magala family. It is the Shagaru Magala. It is the mature version of the Gore Magala. And if you take a look very closely at it, it has its characteristic two horns, but you'll notice that this one has eyes. It can see. And you'll notice that it is currently using all four of its claws already. There is no kind of like base form. The base form of the Shagaru Magala is kind of like an enraged mode. So it's kind of like similar to an enraged Gore Magala, where it uses all four of its claws and it fires the same ranged attack that the Gore Magala would fire. If you take a look, there it is right there. It infects you with the Frenzy virus. It is the Frenzy virus. And if you notice, you'll see that it uses its top two arms to physically pound you. That is one of its tendencies or attack tendencies. He is more powerful than Gore Magala. I do admit this, Gore Magala does look, in a sense, it looks more beautiful than Shagaru. But Shagaru looks good in its own way as well, since this is the adult form. Or if it's a Pokemon, it's the evolved form, however you want to put it. Notice that its wings, everything is still similar, except it is kind of like a different type of color, a more yellowish golden color in a way. And there it is, it shoots 3 shots, but you'll notice that those particular range shots are more straightforward as opposed to Gore Magala's shots go 1 to the left, 1 to the right, and 1 straight ahead. Shagaru can shoot all 3 of its shots straight ahead if it needs to. Attack tendencies are similar with the physical attacks. It uses its claws to stomp you. It does have a wing swipe, and it does have a tail swipe as well. And then there it goes again. See the range, that blast looks very similar to Gore Magala's blast as well, the big blast. It is the same blast, except Shagaru uses it more often, and I believe it is more powerful. There you go. There's the Frenzy Blast. or at least one form of the Frenzy Blast. And what it is that it's just a big solid ray. It just looks like this big gargantuan sized plasma blast and everything. And you don't want to get hit by that. You know, I kind of relate it as being similar to being blasted by a Rajang by its lightning blast. The Shagaru blast is very similar. Well, if this Shagaru Magala looks like a Gore Magala that's enraged, what does the enraged mode of the Shagaru look like? Well, we'll see in a moment. It will become enraged momentarily. The biggest thing when fighting a Shagaru Magala, it's, you know, you just have to understand what its move tendencies are like any other monster, and just remember that its moves and its attacks are very similar to the Gore Magala. So if you know how Gore Magala's attacks work, then you would know about 65 to 75% of what Shagaru is going to do. Oof, look at that blast. That was a serious blast there. Now he's angry, but is he enraged? I guess you could call this kind of like a stage 1 enraged mode. And then there is a second mode that he goes into and does. You'll notice there he does swipe you a lot with his upper claws, his upper arms. Oh, there goes that blast. Oof, that was rough. It is a serious blast. It's very similar. It's not that different from the Gore Magala's blast. You notice what he does, like when he is facing you. There goes that frenzy blast, the plasma type blast. He does that often. He does that quite often. You notice what he does when you're attacking him up close and underneath. If you're coming in behind and you're hitting his hind legs, or going in and hitting his tail, if you do draw aggro or aggression from it, what it will do is it will turn around and it will back up to try and get a bead on you. And just a few seconds ago, it did that wind swipe, and right there, it's using its close range frenzy blast. There it is. Oh my goodness, beautiful, isn't it? But like I said, you don't want to get hit by that. The frenzy virus is the same. If you get infected with the frenzy virus, the way to combat it is to get very aggressive in your attacks with Shagaru. Very nice. And he flies. Shagaru Magala was my favorite monster that I loved hunting in Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate on the 3DS. So hunting the Magalas gives me quite a bit of nostalgia. Did you see that? It flew into the air and did its dive attack, similar to what Gore Magala does. There you go, it did another swipe attack using its wing claw. Those are some of the things that you just have to watch out for in terms of its moveset and what it does. Okay, he's enraged again. Let's see what he does right here. Oof. Now that was an interesting shot, what he did. He kind of dived in with his claw again and did like a stomp. I thought he was diving in and hitting you with his maw or with his jaw. That was interesting, but I think he was just diving in with his claw. Oh, there's another monster there. Oh, it's Espinas. Okay. So far so good there. Oh, Shagaru is stunned. Looks like they're riding him. That's a good thing. Oh, all the monsters are there now. That's interesting to see. There he goes, he's down. But these monsters, see, they get super radical when you got them all together like that and things get crazy. Oh, he just infected all those monsters with a frenzy. Oof. Did you see that? That was a blast right there. It was one of those little range blasts. It wasn't the big plasma blast, but it was a small range blast. Oh, there he goes. Finally, he's in the open. Oof. Okay, so this is his other form, his rage form. And this is his other attack. Basically, you get bombed from above by frenzy virus attacks. And here comes the frenzy plasma blast. Now, in the hunt, he'll probably do that frenzy plasma bomb blast, or the bomber, I guess you could say, rain from above or whatever. Probably do that maybe 2 times, maybe 3, depending on the situation and the length of the hunt in terms of how long the hunters take. Oh, he's getting ready to, here it comes. Whew. Look at that. That is a serious plasma blast. It's beautiful, but man, it is a deadly one if you get hit with it. Well, so far so good on here. This is good. Anything else that it does that is different. There you go. See, it's doing 2 stomps right there. Now, Gore Magala has been known to do that too. You know, so that's the similarities in terms of the moveset. They both do those 2 stomps. There we go. Here it comes again. Plasma, raining plasma from above, or the frenzy blast from above. And then it does that flying dive bomb right there. Okay, look at that. He's doing his stomp. One of the things that I do notice, I don't know how tired the Shagaru gets. There's that blast right there. It's kind of similar to what the Gore Magala does. You'll notice that he does, oh, here it comes. Wow. Oh, they were able to counter that. That was good. That's an interesting attack where he gets up on his hind legs and then he comes down hard on both of his winged legs and everything. You might not want to get hit by those if that happens. So that was good so far. That's good. So we're seeing all the different moves that the Shagaru can do. That's kind of different from the Gore Magala. The raining plasma, or the raining frenzy from above. The frenzy plasma blast is another one. So there's a few different types of moves, you know, that Shagaru does that's different from Gore. And I think overall this one is, the Shagaru is a lot stronger than the Gore Magala. There goes that wing swipe if you saw. Oh, there's a blast. Yeah, see, that's another form of the plasma blast where he gets up on both legs, on both hind legs, and he'll shoot. The only time I've seen him do that is in the latter stages of the hunt, when a certain number of health points have been drained from him. So you're getting close. At this point, I think that when you see him doing that, you're getting close. You're well past the halfway point. He's just fleeing everywhere, isn't he? The weak spots on both Gore Magala and Shagaru, definitely the face. That is a weak spot. The hind legs are considered weak spots as well, depending on the weapon that you're using. I know that when I attack it with the bow, I don't get necessarily the yellow numbers. I get the white numbers, but then the white numbers are fairly good. Oh, there it goes. There's that raining plasma from the sky, or the raining frenzy. And then there was that big frenzy blast right there. Here he comes. Whoa. That's another move that is different. Well, where he will fire while he's up in the air. He fires like a double frenzy range attack straight ahead. So if you happen to dodge to your left or to your right, the odds of you getting hit by that are actually very good because of the way that it launches it. So that's different from Gore Magala. Gore Magala doesn't have that move. There we go. There's that standing hind leg plasma frenzy blast, or the frenzy plasma blast. Now there's a possibility that when he jumps up on his hind legs like that, that there may be a chance, depending on the situation or scenario, where you could interrupt him or stun him and cause him to fall down. There goes that double ranged attack that he has. There he is again. There's a plasma. Wow. Incredible. He's backing off. I wonder how tired he is. He is looking a little worn out there, or he's looking like he's been taking some serious damage. Oh, here it comes again. Hind leg shot. Oof. Somebody just carded. And that's how intense the Shagaru Frenzy Plasma Blast is. Somebody just ended up carding. Now, in all likelihood, you could possibly survive that Frenzy Plasma Blast if you're at full health. But if your health is down and you get caught in that, you're going to be guaranteed to card. The interesting thing is that there is no elemental defense against any of the frenzy attacks that the Magala family launches on you. It is the one elemental thing that there is no immunity to, and it is one of the abnormal, I guess you could say, the abnormal statuses that isn't curable. You know, once you get it, the only cure is for you to go into an aggressive attack posture. That glow, my son, while he was getting ready to charge him, he got caught in that big globe attack. Look at that. Wow. Intense. Very, very intense. There you go. He did like a wing or some sort of swipe. There was another stomp there. And Shagaru is almost down. Shagaru is almost down. Pretty good. He's taking off. Chances are he's going back into the main citadel area to go to sleep. That's intense. Very intense. I really do like the Magala family. And I'm very grateful that my son is doing the hunting for the Magala family, so that I can actually just sit back and really observe. For someone like me, it's hard to be able to be observant while I'm hunting the monster. Like, I try my best to observe, but it's easier this way because I can just completely concentrate on the action and the monster, as opposed to, okay, I need to aim my bow and fire at it and dodge and all that other stuff. Yep, they are almost ready. I wonder who's going to do the honors. Somebody with a range attack, like maybe the bow user. Yeah, he's ready. Very nice. Very, very nice. The interesting thing is that you can see the scars on the monster, or the wounds on the monster after a period of time. Here we go again. It's going into its raining frenzy blasts. Nice. Very nice. Nice little swipe move with its arm, where it swipes down and it circles. Okay, and there's that one where he flies in the air and he launches kind of like this straight inline frenzy blast that kind of like go up off the ground, like project from off the ground and everything. He's almost down. This is good. He's almost down. There you go. That's it. And that is the Shagaru Magala. A very intense monster and a very beautiful monster in its own way. One of my favorites. Next, we're going to go after and show the fighting tendencies of the chaotic Gore Magala. Okay, so this is it, the final comparison. This right here in the Magala family is what they call the chaotic Gore Magala. And the first thing that you'll notice about it is that it looks a lot like Gore Magala, but has some distinct features. You'll notice that its right wing arm has the color, that's the color configuration that's very similar to the Shagaru Magala. And thus is why you get the name Chaotic Gore Magala. Basically, the Chaotic Gore Magala is basically kind of like a hybrid form of Gore Magala and not chaotic, but Gore Magala and Shagaru Magala. And it's a form that never completed itself, or a transformation that never completed itself. And so what that means is that this monster that was supposed to be able to evolve into something different, something more glorious, didn't meet that qualification and didn't evolve. And so as a result, it is constantly angry, constantly in pain, and constantly enraged. If you'll notice, it has the one horn of the Shagaru Magala, but you'll notice that there is no eyes, and that it still keeps the look and feel of a Gore Magala that has no eyes. It has the cape and the configuration, the wingspan and everything. You can tell that it is kind of a hybrid look. This monster, in my opinion and in my son's opinion, is more dangerous than Shagaru Magala. And the reason why is because it's constantly angry. Its moveset is more aggressive and just more rageful. It doesn't seem to get tired very, very often. And the blast that it does is not the same as Shagaru's, but it is a more advanced version of what the typical Gore Magala would do. And the blast radius is bigger as a result. When it does its big blast, or its big, I guess you could say its big orb blast that the Gore Magala would usually do, the explosion and the area of effect is larger. Same thing goes for that blast right there, which is the close range blast. That's usually Gore Magala's bread and butter. It will go into that short range blast, but it has a bigger radius of effect, area of effect. And so you have to get out of its way farther, faster and farther, in order to not be infected or affected by it. It's more aggressive in its tail swipes. It's more aggressive in its stomps. Physically, it's just more aggressive than both Gore Magala and Shagaru. I mean, what would it be like for a monster to be caught in total, like, halfway mutation? What kind of pain would a monster like that be in? And maybe that's why they call it the chaotic Gore Magala, because it's in constant pain and it is constantly enraged. It's on the top area. Wrong way, the other way. Yeah, there you go. My son's taking a shortcut, obviously. And he's also getting more stamina birds in the process. But this is one mad monster. Even in the description, Even in the description, they say that this monster is not only ugly, but that we should take care of it before it destroys the world. It's just a very, very angry monster. I think the only monster that is more angry than this is the Furious Rajang. But other than that, there is no monster, in my opinion, that is more angry than a chaotic Gore Magala, except for the Furious Rajang. And in the same way, it still has the Frenzy virus. Anytime you get hit by any of the blasts, you're going to be infected with the Frenzy virus. And so your only recourse is to become aggressive in your attacks. This particular monster can be very difficult to be aggressive with because it is aggressive in itself. It's always raging, it's always angry, you know, or as my son would say, it's insane. Its physical attacks, you could see the frequency of its physical attacks. That's a different blast right there. You see how that blast came down and for a moment it sat and then it exploded, and then what happened was it shot in 4 different directions. So you have to be careful of that because Gore Magala and Shagaru do not have that. And then there was another blast that occurred as I was explaining it. All I know is that chaotic Gore Magala's blasts, although similar to regular Gore Magala, the area of effect and the blast radius is bigger. Wow, what an intense monster. Oh, he's looking exhausted. That's a good sign. They don't get tired that often. They don't get tired that often. There they go. They just trapped it in a shock trap. So this is where they can just cut loose and do as much damage as possible to it. But you can bet he's going to get really angry. There he goes. He took off. I wonder where he's heading off to. Oh, he's going back down to the bottom of the shrine ruins. Okay. Very interesting. Oh my. Yeah, this monster is a little bit more insane. And he is, yeah, I do consider him the hardest of the 3. I remember fighting this monster with Emily Eleanor, and yeah, it was chaotic to say the least. But that monster was like, it was just everywhere, and it was just a challenge to just try to get any good hits in because it was constantly attacking you. See that circular attack where it does like a 360-degree wind, kind of like a wing swipe. Yeah, what an incredible monster. The Magala family will always be my favorite. You almost feel bad for this monster because of the constant pain that it's in and the constant rage it's in. Oof. It just swiped twice there. Oh, here it goes. Yeah, that was one of those blasts again. You'll notice that the area of effect shoots outward, kind of like in, it looks like almost like 4 directions in some ways. And it seems like there's 2 different types of those blasts that take place. And trying to figure out which one is which can be kind of a challenge. Because where you dodge out of the way, you're trying to dodge out of the way of the initial blast, and then you're trying to dodge out of the way of the area of effect. And sometimes, for someone like me, I've dodged into the area of effect, and I still get hit. Man, That Lunagaron is small compared to that chaotic Gore Magala. There it is with its physical attack again. Looks like they're throwing... Oh, okay. My son is using the Lunagaron Ice Blast to kind of affect it and to give it an abnormal status. Looks like a frozen status or a chilled status. Nice move there. That was really cool. My son has more agile skills than I will ever have when it comes to the characters. His hunter is so much more agile because he's more agile. The way he's just so much more in touch with the moves of his character than I think I am with mine. I'm decent in my own right, but and my son is so much more proficient at it. Oh, here we go. He's still angry. He's about to shoot again. That's the other blast. His other range attack is that he shoots 3 of those frenzy moving globes or orbs. And what they do is that he fires it to the right and to the left. And what they do is that with the typical Gore Magala, it just goes in a straight line and goes out in that direction that's being fired. But with this one, it curves inward. So it goes out off to the side like in a diagonal mode, but then it starts to curve inward. And then it also shoots the blast directly ahead. So you got 3 of these, and sometimes it can be difficult to dodge those if you don't have a good judgment in terms of where those orb blasts are going. Very nice, very nice. So far, so good. This monster is a pretty intense monster. I definitely remember this monster from Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. Looks like I think my son is trying to get something here real quick. Oh, he's drawing over that Mitzutsune. Okay. Is that the marionette spider? I don't know. My friends and hunting partners do the same thing. They have their way of bringing monsters over. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's see. Oh, looks like that chaotic Gore Magala is in a burning state right now. It's in an abnormal state. It's being affected by blaze, I think, or fire. Very nice, very nice. And that's a lot of critical hits being landed there. That's real cool. There he is, angry again, like always. What is he gonna do now? Oh, he's firing his globes, his orbs, his blast orbs. Oh. Yeah, there goes the 3 blast orbs again. Those that were just launched, those were orbs that went into, like, it fired it to the right, the left, and then in the center. And then what the 2 orbs do is that they go and they curve inward. Their trajectory goes inward. Oh, this cat of Gore Magala is definitely doing a lot of physical stomping, also using its front hind legs and also its winged legs, just to try to do stomps. Oh, there goes the dive attack. I hadn't seen that one in a little while, but apparently it does have that move where it can fly in the air and it does a dive attack. Okay, that was a blast that was similar to Shagaru's, where he gets up on his hind legs, but then it ends up firing a typical small orb that has an area of effect. Now, if you saw those blasts right there from the frenzy, that's similar to what the Shagaru Magala does when it fires, where those blasts are coming, they're trailing across the ground. That's similar of what Shagaru does. So you can see that this monster has a combination of both Gore Magala and Shagaru. Guess you could say it has both, but it has some of both, but it doesn't excel in either. Wow, he's way over there at the... Okay, so they're getting ready to continue hunting him down there. The good news is that at least nobody's fainted. Hopefully no one will faint. Okay, what's this? There we go. See that he got that little charge move that he does where he tries to trample you. It's very similar to what Gore Magala does. There goes that other blast where it fires an initial blast and it sits there for a moment, and then when it explodes in 4 different directions. There goes the hind leg, and then it comes down, a physical attack going on its hind legs and coming down with its winged claws. Uh-oh, here it comes. Ooh, lucky he was able to get out of the way there. That looked like I thought he was going to get caught in the blast for a moment there. The main thing with Chaotic Gore Magala as you're fighting him is you just have to remain patient. And you have to wait for your openings. That's the main thing. If you just remain patient and wait for your openings and you don't try to do too much, you'll take them down. But you have to be very patient, especially if you're specializing in up-close melee attacks. You know, for me, someone like me, I can just shoot from a distance and it doesn't matter. But for like individuals like my son who uses a sword and shield, or maybe a switch axe or hammer or whatever, or a large sword or a great sword, a long sword and a great sword, getting in close is big. Oh, did you see that? That looks similar to Shagaru Magala's plasma blast. Too bad we didn't see it anymore. But it looks like it does have a form of that. Oh, and the reason why they finished it was because they put it to sleep. That was great. That was great. So there you go. That's a comparison of all 3 of the Magalas in the Magala family. Hope you enjoyed the video.